morning, everyone. Today's Thai Talk speaker is Mrs. Cheryl Gates, so please give her a warm round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. So, as Carson said, my name is Cheryl Gates. I'm also Gavin's mom. So I have what I think is the coolest job in the whole world, and so I'm really excited to be here and to share this with you guys today. So what better way to start than with some music? So I am a professional musician. I play the viola in Pacific Symphony, and I'm going to play just a little snippet of a piece that's like 40 minutes long, so I will just play a little bit of it to give you a little sound of the viola. It's different from the violin. It has a lower sound, so it's a little bit more like human voice range. The violin is higher because it's smaller, and I'll play a little bit of that later. But right now I'm going to play a piece called Johann Christian Bach's Viola Concerto, and it sounds like this. Like I said, I'm excited to be here, and I wanted to share. There's so many things I want to share with you guys. One of the interesting things about my job is that a lot of people that play in Pacific Symphony or just are professional musicians, they start when they're super young. I also started when I was really young. My family, we had a family string quartet. So I have a couple pictures that I just thought would be fun for you guys to see. So this is my older sister, and this is me as a baby. So my sister and me at the piano, and then this is my dad and me at the piano. And we played together in family string quartet, like I said. So that's me and my mom and my dad and my sister. So she plays the cello. Here I'm playing the violin because that was my first instrument was actually the piano. But when I was 4, my parents got me, and I brought this because I think it's so fun to show you guys. This was my very first violin. This itty bitty little violin for when I was tiny, and people are always like, oh, can you still play it? Well, so as you can imagine, my fingers are way too big for it. But, you know, probably when I was 4, I was playing things like Twinkle Twinkle, right? So that was my first violin that I got when I was 4. And music was just a really fun part of my life growing up. Well, this was what we did for fun, for like as family time. I never intended that would become my career. I played in my school orchestras, and I was really lucky. I grew up in Santa Monica, which is just an hour north of us. And my school had a really great music program. So that was also, I had great teachers, great starting teachers. And then I went to college. I went to UC Berkeley, and I actually went as an intended psychology major. I loved playing music, but it was like a hobby for me, right? It was like a passion. And so as a psych major, I just, I just decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to sit in a room and have clients all day. Somehow that just like lost interest for me. So I loved all of the music classes, and I decided, well, I'm going to switch my major to music. And then that's when I switched from the violin to the viola. And so like I said, it's a little bit of a lower sound. I'll play the same thing for you on the violin. So you'll hear that this, if I play like the same fingers on the same strings, you'll hear that a little bit lower. So the similarities are that they have 4 strings, right? They have the same shape, but obviously this one's bigger, and that means that it has a lower sound. So the lowest string is lower than the violin's lowest string. So when I was in college, I switched to the viola, and I really felt like I found my voice. And then I got really serious. I went to graduate school in New York at a really prestigious graduate school. I had a couple really amazing teachers, but I really had one that was like my mentor. And I remember, switching is a little bit of a different mechanics. Like using the weight of your arm, like on the violin, you don't have to use like your power and your muscles as much. I remember my teacher saying, we're just gonna do scales for 2 months. Do you guys know what scales are? It's like, and we did them like that, and we did them with like staccato bows, and that's not my passion, right? I want to play music, and I want to play like fun pieces. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna suck. But I just felt like I had to have that faith that this mentor was gonna guide me. And so I played scales for hours and hours and hours for 2 months until he was like, okay, now we can do some other stuff. So switching, because he felt like I really had to get, as I switched from violin to viola, I had to get that core sound of like getting the arm technique and switching those techniques into what fit with the viola. And so that was like really important, probably for my career later on, right? At the time, it felt like, I felt like I was getting demoted, like, we're just playing scales. So I think that was one of the really cornerstones of just my musical life, is that it was like, if I'm going to get serious, I have to kind of go back to the basics and really make sure that the basics are finely tuned. Like I said, I play in Pacific Symphony. I don't know has anyone ever been to a show at the Pacific Symphony? So then you recognize this hall. It's just right across from South Coast Plaza. And there is a picture of the orchestra. I put a purple arrow so you can see where I sit. So we have the string section is the front of the orchestra, and then you have the woodwinds, and then the brass, and then all the percussion in the back, right? So the violas are here. I know that like part of this is sharing with you guys like how is Tide a part of my life and what I've done and how I've like had a career in music. I think it's funny because so much of music is like we play on these old instruments, and we play a lot of music that was written by people that are dead, right? So it's sort of like, well, how can it be innovative, and how does technology factor in? So when I first got my job in Pacific Symphony, I wanted to do many other things, and honestly, part of it was like, I want to make more money, right? Not just the salary that I'm getting from Pacific Symphony. So the biggest part for me with the Tide idea is the entrepreneurship. That was really what utilized the technology and the innovation and the design. Because I started my own business doing music for people's weddings and parties and just any type of events. So small groups, kind of like what I showed you with my family, that picture of the string quartet. So I designed a website. This website was to basically market to somebody like a bride who's getting married and wants to have maybe a string quartet for their walk down the aisle. It's a little bit more personal and more beautiful and more intimate, I guess you could say, than having a DJ just playing music in the speakers, right? And so so this factored in for sure. And by the way, this was like 15 years ago. So the internet, there was no Instagram, there was like, I don't know, I think that may have been even before Facebook. So when I first started the business, brides would call me and I would mail them a CD. So then eventually I had it so that on the website there are, like, they can listen to sound clips. That was also something that made my life easier, right? Because it's like, oh, they're like, well, I'm trying to decide what piece to walk down the aisle to. It's like, just go to the website. I don't have to sit on the phone with you for an hour and explain and, you know, play things. Like before all of this happened, I would sit at the piano and play things for them, or put my phone on speaker and play things on my instrument for them as an aid, right? So technology really saved me a lot of time. So that saved me a lot of time and energy with holding their hands and helping them plan. So so designing the website and I love this idea that that was shared with me this morning of when something is a problem or a challenge, how do we look at that as an opportunity instead, right? So for me, it was like, okay, I want to make more money and I have extra time on my hands. So I started this business. I also, started a really big studio of teaching private lessons to kids like your age or elementary kids that want to learn how to play the violin or the viola. And then just another question was, what are my skills that I'm using in my career, right? I don't know that I was ever trained. Like, you guys get a lot of awesome training in public speaking, and that's like a real focus of what you guys do here at school, which I think is so cool. When I was in school, that wasn't a thing. I just enjoy it, and that's maybe something that makes me interested in teaching. So I do a lot of also putting concerts together. And so just to give you like something a little bit more, there was, so this is like just an example of some events at weddings, because now we are on Instagram. But anyway, so this is also the orchestra in an outdoor venue, going into the communities. I love reaching out to kids. I love teaching. I love the community aspect of how music brings just such fun and joy, hopefully to you guys, but for sure to me. So I thought I'd give you an example. So this is like my string quartet playing just, we have these like a mobile stage that we bring to parks and stuff. The symphony pays for all this and it's free to the community. I don't know if you'd call it really innovation, but like, so I had to come up with a concert. And I was the leader of the string quartet, and they were like, okay, you put the concert together. So I have to, sometimes I like sit and I think and I wait for the creative juices to get rolling, right? And so I thought, this would be a fun idea for a concert. Like, we're going to travel around the world, right? So these are all pieces that are very indicative of different styles of music, like tangos, like so Argentina, everything was kind of represented. Like, we did a Mexican folk song, we did an Irish jig, we did some Star Wars, some Disney stuff. And so the idea for the audience was, hey, I'm taking you on a trip. And so that was like my theme, right? And so I looked for all these pieces to try to make it a cohesive concert, right? Because if we just play random music, is that interesting to the audience? So there's for sure an element of like, how do I thread it all together, right? I could play all the pop songs for you that to me are boring. They're like 3 chords over and over and over. Classical music is like really, really complex. But I've done crazy things. That's me in a Kanye West music video. I've been on MTV. I've done every like Jay Leno and I've done all the talk shows, and I've played on tons of movie soundtracks. So the next time you listen to a movie, you're thinking like you hear all that music behind the scenes, right? And those are musicians that sat in a huge recording studio playing what a composer chose for that movie, right? And so not just classical music, but or rap music, but also, you know, I've played in heavy metal bands, you know, just like it's a wide variety of genres that we get to play, which is also very fun. I wanted to also give you guys a little taste of design, because design is kind of, for what I do, it's different from, like, it's not something that you're going to see, right? So it's going to be more of like using your ears. So I wanted to just share with you what it might sound like if I did two different types of design on the instrument, and you can tell me which one you like better. Okay, so I'm going to play the same thing a different way. So who liked the first way? Nobody. Who liked the second way? Okay, so do you know what I did differently? Yeah.
Added vibrato.
I love it. So vibrato means that I'm basically wiggling my finger to give it a warmer sound. And also I played very straight with my bow the first time. I didn't make any changes to like the dynamics. Right, so the second time I made this note a little louder. And then I got softer at the end, right? So I gave the music some shape. So that's sort of the design element in music, right? Like I said, it's not something that you're seeing, but for sure you can hear the difference.
Thank you everyone so much for listening today. Please give our Thai Talk speaker another big warm round of applause.